That's allowable. And then what's the suggestion for the rest of the time? Absolute no use at all. Is that what you're suggesting? That's a question.
That's what I'm suggesting, yes, but I certainly think that you need to hear from others, but that would be my suggestion.
Pretty much the way the state had it before.
I'd like to ask Tony what his thoughts are.
Oh, we have a sheriff here.
Yes.
Thanks, Jim, I appreciate that. Well, like I said to you earlier, it's not the fireworks, it's the person with the fireworks. It's pretty difficult to enforce stupid. And that's what we're doing. I mean, I will tell you, it's taxing myself and the state police with complaints. We get 25 and 30 complaints a weekend that we chase. That's basically all we do is chase. There's no teeth in the law at all. That doesn't say you have to be sober. Doesn't say that you have to. The wind, you know, I mean, you can't get a fire permit if the wind's blowing for 40 miles an hour, yet you can shoot fireworks off if the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour. So you can't possibly regulate the use of them staying on your own property, because that's not where they're going to end up, on your own property. So the problem is the legislature passed this law. They didn't bring in the people who had to enforce it, which would be law enforcement. And now we're left to deal with it. And you're left to deal with it. We can't enforce ordinances. District attorney won't regulate. Will enforce, prosecute most ordinances. I can't speak for them on this one, but as near as we can tell, they won't on this one either. So it's leaves it up to the town to decide. I just had the same discussion with the town of East Machias, and they're going to put 3 proposals forward in November. You might get with them and see what those are. But it's certainly a nuisance to law enforcement. I certainly can't disagree, because people are complaining pretty much constantly. And I think the real problem is, I mean, it's like, you know, I don't have them being shot off around my house, but when they are, I think they are. You know, they can be only miles away, and I've actually got on a cruiser and tried to find them, and they're always difficult to find. They're a long way away, but they're still driving one of my dogs and saying, yeah, I don't know if people just heard what happened down in York County. First, they almost killed 2 horses and it did a dog. I mean, maybe they can say they're 2 horses and a dog, but it was I think it was in York that this happened. And like I said, it's not the fireworks. It's trying to regulate stupid, and it's just not possible to do that. I don't think so. I think something's going to have to be done, but I think one of the things that I recommend is go back to the legislature, push the legislators to put some teeth in this law, so that the sheriff's office and the state police have something to enforce. Now, I will tell you, my opinion, and the opinion of the sheriff's office, and I'll just speak for the sheriff's office, it truly fits the disorderly conduct law. If you look up disorderly conduct, it says one of the things it says you will not set off an explosive device that disturbs others. And I use I guess I can use the analogy of, you know, you can't go out in the middle of the night and just fire off a weapon over and over and over again. That's disorderly conduct. You cannot play loud music. That's disorderly conduct. For some reason, they've decided we're not going to enforce this under the disorderly conduct law. If we could, we could go to the people and say, listen, you're disturbing others. You have to stop. And if they didn't, they'd be arrested. But for some reason, they look at this as totally different than it. And I mean, I could argue that, but I can't. I don't prosecute it. Cal's tried to get that. I believe Cal's PD tried to enforce the disorderly conduct law, and we know anyway. So we're just. I don't know what to tell you to do. I mean, it's supposed to be a free country, but I mean, it's just people, they just use common sense when they did it, then we wouldn't be discussing this, but that's the problem. You can't regulate common sense, you can't enforce common sense on more people.
So would your recommendation be petitioning the legislature then would be more effective?
Well, I mean, I certainly would try that. I mean, I don't know where you would get with it. I doubt very far. I mean, I don't have any probably, I think what happens to our legislators, well, I don't know, I know what happens when they drive back on Sunday night and Monday morning, they bump their heads on the overpasses. So when they get there, they don't do, they're not the same people that left Washington County. They don't, I can tell you that not one representative of this county contacted one law enforcement officer, asked them what the effect would be on our agency if this law was passed. That did not happen.
It's so
So that
ironic.
gives you an idea how concerned they were about you and me. They were concerned about the next vote, or the next election, or the next buddy who's gonna pat them on the back in Augusta.
Tax revenue.
That's all this is, so.
I find
I
it
have
so
very, I have very
ironic.
little faith in this county delegation. I mean, they, well, I have no faith in them, actually, so. I don't see it
so
getting anywhere.
ironic that most states are banning
Fireworks.
fireworks, and here Maine is saying that we can have them, and the law they put in is so loose.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there's absolutely no
Yeah.
teeth in the law at all for us to do anything with it. They basically can be fired off anywhere, anytime, any place. And you know, and the other thing, what we're up against is, we get a fireworks complaint in Lubec, the officer who's covering Lubec could be in Crawford. So the time they clear Crawford and get to Lubec, that's probably well over with. So to find that person who did it, and then get them, I mean, and then what do you tell them? You can't do it, yeah, they can do it. So
I don't think it would hurt to contact the legislature. I mean, it certainly, it's something to try.
Okay, can I just ask another question? And this, I think it runs hand in hand. When there's no enforcement or anything, what is this town doing about policing the town? If we're not paying the sheriff's department, or if we're not contributing there, where's the deterrent? Is there, have you thought of hiring a constable? I mean, you're in charge of public safety, and I don't see where this town is moving towards that. Can someone tell me something differently?
Donnie, would you like to
Well, I
address?
mean, yeah, I mean, we try to explain where we are. I mean, we all share with the state police, some of you know that. But tonight, there are 3 officers, either 2 troopers and 1 deputy, or 2 deputies and 1 trooper, covering this entire county, 3,300 square miles. And that's broken up in 3 sections. This section goes from Jonesboro to Perry, Route 9 to Roast Bluff, and Lubec, Cutler, and Shires Fort. That's 1 officer covering that whole entire area. So the complaints that come in, I mean, you know, obviously you have a patrol division over there. We don't have a patrol division, we have a complaint division. You know, we run from complaint to complaint to complaint. So that's what we're dealing with. Everybody, you know, we need more staffing when it's not going to happen. It's never, you know, this county's not going to provide us, the state's not going to provide. I mean, you know, the local lieutenant has gone to Augusta on many occasions and fought for more staffing for his troops. It's just not happening. We're not going to get the help in Washington County that we need. And then, you know, it's no secret. I'm not anybody. After midnight at night, it's all call out. From midnight to 8, you know, unless there's something going on, there's nobody patrolling. There's nobody on the road. It all comes from call out. So you called at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, an officer theoretically could come out of Baileyville to cover that complaint. You know, it's problematic, but it's the way it is.
Right. We've been through this before. In the time that I've been on this board, that problem has never stopped for you, and therefore it's never stopped for us. We, the town, after, was it last year, we had the Public Works Committee and the Police Committee, which didn't go more than 6 meetings because we realized that we were up over $500,000 to set up a police force in this town. And we really need some other things, and we pushed those, but those were voted down too. So I don't think a substantial start on the police department for this town would be $500,000 or more. Where's that money coming from?
What about a constable? But, you know,
What's the difference
you throw
between-
figures out of $500,000 in a little town like this when people are worried about eating. I think that isn't responsible. I think the town must own some buildings here that they could put money into. I think you need to think outside the box. Because if you want to do all these bicycle things and all these good things for the town, you have to take care of the people and the buildings and the kids, and that's public safety. Right now, you are avoiding the issue.
When you were having these problems with fireworks, did you call the police department?
Yes,
Okay, what was the response?
took it down, and he said it can be a public nuisance, okay? And he's told me how many complaints he had. Who do I call if my house is on fire? Because
Fire
we
company.
live in a tinderbox. I'm just saying,
Yeah, yeah.
you're not being
Congested where
responsible.
we are, it's very congested.
Right.
So,
Well,
fireworks go off, they land on my property and other people's. It's a nuisance.
well, I can only speak for myself. If you wrote letters and wanted to go and appeal to the legislators, which doesn't sound like you're against them, but it will bring it to their attention, and come up with a common sense approach to a town ordinance that may or may not be accepted by people, I'll sign on to
Why
that.
should I do it? I am.
You're a member of the town, you're
Yes,
bringing it
and
to our
you are an
attention.
elected official of this town, and you should be working on that.
I agree. I agree. I don't think they should be allowed in the town limits at all. They should not be allowed within the town limits. And that's from, Uncle Kippy's in town. They should not be allowed.
So I think the onus is on the Board of Selectmen to sit down, put their heads together, and this is a public safety issue. Draw up an ordinance that you can present, excuse me, and then work on either a constable or something here in this town. When I came into this town 13 years ago, there was a sheriff's car every night in this town. I think that's a deterrent. I don't think I'm the only person that would think that that's a deterrent to what's happening.
But we didn't fire them, they got rid of us.
Well, then that doesn't mean we have to go without.
A constable is not
Wait,
like.
That's not entirely true. Let's set the record straight here on that. I come in, and I'm gonna be quite frank with you about this. Every single year that we had somebody in here, all as the two guys heard that worked here was, we're getting rid of you next year. Now, let me tell you how difficult that is to keep people working when they're told that we're getting rid of you. When I cut the budget, every time I cut the budget, the vote got closer for some reason. The last vote was within 8 votes of the department. I come in and I said to you, I was down 2 people. It was budget committee time. I said, I'm willing to fulfill the contract, but I am not going to try to hire somebody for 2 months. It's impossible for me to say I got a job for 2 months. No one's coming to work. And I said, but we'll finish the contract. After you, if the town approves the budget in August, I will try to recruit. 2 days later, I got a letter from the town saying we opted out of the contract. So you opted out of the contract, not the sheriff's office. And for some reason, you see it the other way. But I was willing, I had to wait to see if the town was going to approve this. I mean, how do I hire someone for 2 months? If they had, I would try to recruit. It's very difficult to recruit police officers in this county. I mean, we're losing them constantly because of the pay. I mean, I get people leaving because they'd rather drive a truck. Maybe $14 an hour, they get 20 plus driving a truck. I mean, it's impossible. But you cut the contract. You the ones who decided that you were going to cut it and not take it to the voters. Wasn't me.
I remember that differently.
Huh?
I remember that conversation differently.
How do you remember it?
I remember it as we wanted to provide that and you said we didn't have the manpower and
That's
we
what I
couldn't
said.
fulfill it.
I said I didn't have the manpower at this time, but I was going to finish the contract, which we did. And I said, if you voted in August, I will recruit to see if I can fulfill those 2 positions. I wasn't going to try, because this is what, in June? So why was I going to try to recruit something? Who could I recruit for a month to 2? Nobody. I wasn't even going to try that. Before you took it, you didn't take it to the voters that year, did you? You never took it to the voters. You sent me a letter. John sent me a letter within 2 days of that meeting saying we opt out of the contract. I still have the letter. So no, that's how it went down. But I don't know, and I don't know if the town would have approved it. I don't know if they would have approved it. And then if they had, I told you I didn't know if I could fill the positions because we were down 2 people at the time. But it was the perfect time for me to say to you, if you're going to opt out of it, and you opted out of it. It wasn't my choice.
I think the other part of it was, you requested, 200,000 or 199 for the 2 officers, I believe. And you said that if you hired 2 officers, you would have to send one to the academy for 6 months, and then you would send the other one to the academy for 6 months. And what that would have done was, for 200,000, give Lubec 1 officer coverage, which was 40 hours a week.
But that's life. That's life in the police world. If I hire someone tomorrow for the county, I have to send them away for 6 months of training. So we're down a person. That was my point exactly. But I gave you the options, and you decided. But the letter you sent me, John, was the fact that you opted out of the contract. You were not going to take it to the voters, and it didn't go to the voters that year. So don't put this. You
Okay,
put
but we
this
have
on me.
a person who's,
I live above the landing,